Councilman Kelly's case.
Okay, here we go. Call the Board of Zoning Appeals to order on this day, June 14th, 2021. Ms. Kukla, can you read the preamble followed by a roster countdown to see who's here from the board?
Sure, thank you. My name's Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law under COVID-19 emergency declaration, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking on the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that calling users can unmute by using *6.
And I'd also like to point out that if we're getting some feedback, so if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone until called to speak. Thank you.
All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Now I will call the roll. Mr. Donovan.
Here.
Ms. Britt.
Here.
Ms. Faith.
Here.
Ms. Barnes.
Ms. Barnes? She was here.
Uh-oh, did we lose her?
I see her listed in the chat.
Ms. Barnes, here.
All right, unmute your microphone now. All right,
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
thank you. There are no postponements or withdrawals to be considered.
No, sir.
Correct.
Let us begin our program with Alana reading the first case.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. First case today with Councilman Kevin Kelly present. We're going to do calendar number 21-063. It's 08 Southfield Avenue. Nicholas Rozakis, owner, proposes to erect a 2-story single-family residence with a detached garage on a 5,000 square foot lot in an A1 one-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
All right.
Mr. Donovan, would you like me to swear people in, or are you going to do that, or?
Yeah, I'm going to swear. I'll still swear them in.
Okay.
Would everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand if you're going to testify? I'm going to read a statement. It's going to be followed by a response from you saying, "I do," with your name. Ready? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name?
Kevin Kelly.
Okay. Anyone else? Nick? Is there anyone else going to testify besides Kevin Kelly?
There was a Nicholas here earlier.
I thought so. I see him on my screen, but I don't. Nicholas, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, you're supposed to be saying "I do" and your name.
I do, Nicholas Rozakis. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, let's move to history.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. I think that the most relevant information on this address is that in 2012, a permit was issued to demolish and replace a one-story garage. And then in 2018, a permit was issued to demolish a 1.5-story residence and a garage on this property. And that's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Lori, the legal standard?
Do you want the legal standard?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum gross floor area, rear yard, interior side yard, accessory building maximum floor area, and accessory building setback regulations of the zoning code. I don't know why I am being echoed, but to obtain the area variances, the appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you, Lori. Maurice, can you summarize the variances that will?
Yeah, just
requested?
one other thing, Lori, you're signed in twice, which is why you're probably getting an echo. I see you muted one of them, so maybe that'll help.
I accidentally signed out, so I signed back in. So
Okay,
how
so
do I sign out?
you're good now. You muted the other one's muted, so you're good.
Yeah, but the next time I speak, it's going to do the same thing.
Only if you unmute both of them.
I only have one mute button.
Oh, okay. Well, let's give it a shot.
Maurice, give
Yeah,
us a
so I'm
summary.
sorry. Yeah, so right now we're looking at 6 variances. One of them, the last one, has already been taken care of, which is the city planning requirement. They've been to HDRS last week, I believe, and they moved to approve it with a couple of conditions. So the rest of the things, we're just doing a gross floor area variance, as Lori stated, a rear yard variance, which is another common variance that we grant. There are also the interior side yard variance and the accessory building maximum floor area. So the garage is a little bit bigger than it's allowed to by code. And those are the variances.
Okay.
Nicholas, go ahead. Give us your case, Eric. Again, focus in on the variances requested.
So we had a meeting a couple weeks back, and it was recommended to have the distance between the back of the garage and the back of the the back fence, to be 1.5 feet, which so let me take another step back. So they wanted the setback to be a little bit bigger. So we got some distance from behind the garage, and also I took out the backyard and the back patio to make up for that distance. So now it's 21 feet, 6 inches setback. They were also worried. So I also wanted to have higher ceilings in the basement, or just the whole house in general. So they were concerned, or you guys were all concerned about the aesthetics of the house being elevated too high, and it was recommended to bring the siding down to overhang on that brick, to make it look like it's the same elevation as the neighboring houses. I also dropped that down a couple inches as well. And I'm pretty sure those were the only changes. If I might be forgetting something, but yeah, those were the changes we made. since the last meeting.
Were those changes that came about because of the review by city planning?
Yes.
All righty. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on behalf of this?
I believe we have Councilman Kelly.
Besides the councilman, city planning, do you want, Maurice,
Yes,
is your testimony going to be that?
Yes, our testimony would be consistent with HDRS moved for approval of this project, so we also support this project. I just have a question about the front yard setback and maybe to Mr. Riccardi. It looked to me when I went out there that all of the other houses are set about 30 feet back from they have a 30-foot setback. And this house is going to be now at 21 or 20 foot 6 inches or 21.6. So I was wondering why they were not written, why there's not a issue with the setback.
I did ask the residential plan examiner to look into that many times, and I think in this case also, those dimensions are not provided by the applicant. If that is a concern, it should be
I'm on the city
continued
planning meeting for a
and
minute,
looked at.
because Calvin Kelly on here, most of the
Go ahead, Mr. Riccardi.
As I said, I think the residential plan examiner maybe did not have the benefit of those setback dimensions of the adjoining houses. And if you did find that in your field review, then quite frankly, I think that the case should be continued so it can be examined with those dimensions.
That sounds reasonable. It does appear that it was not reviewed in this case. What do you think?
We're just concerned about this house, coming out a lot 9 feet in front of the other houses on the block is the only issue. If the board is comfortable with that, then fine. The HDRS, which I didn't attend, was comfortable with the new variance or the new distance. So I guess I'll leave that up to the board.
Well, let me ask a question. I think that, as I recall, we don't have the power if the setback doesn't meet the standard. The only way we have the power is through the mathematical formula that allows for a different answer other than the 30-foot setback in this case. Is that true or false?
That is true. However, they're also not written up for that either. So I haven't really had this kind of a situation before.
But we just have testimony that perhaps they should have been written up.
I mean, obviously, I think there are cases where the field review that Maurice does, which is why it's so valuable, reveals things that then aren't on the plan. And I think that this might have been the case. Well,
and my other thing is, I used my iPhone to measure the distance, so I can't attest 100% that the 30 feet is a valid number. That's why I'm, hesitant, and I don't want to create a problem here if there isn't one.
And we're just trying to follow the rules as set by the zoning code. And
So
follow the recommendation of, in this case, Mr. Riccardi, that perhaps somebody ought to go out, first and foremost, somebody ought to go out there and measure it. Because we're saying, well, we don't know if the measurement's true or false. And upon that measurement, we may find that it isn't an issue. But we also may find that it is an issue and has to be reposted, etc. Does that seem reasonable to the board?
My only question is, then if it comes back and there is a front setback issue and we can't do anything about it, how does that work out? I can see here. So, I don't know if this can be some kind of conditional, review or something based upon the front setback. Because I know all of us are always very annoyed by this front setback thing that most of the time we can't do anything about, and why do they come before us and we can't make decisions on it? So I would just toss that out. Maybe we can look at some kind of.
I think what Kelly is suggesting here is that we put the case to a vote and can condition it on the field measurement to again elucidate the issue if there is one for the front setback. Is that what we're saying here, Kelly?
That's what I'm saying, Tim.
Councilman, what's your weigh in on this?
This is this is a healthy street. I want a house built on these lots. It's a beautiful street, and those who know the history, there was a tragedy that led to these lots being vacant, and I'd really like some, like a beautiful new house there. But we can't, if there is if it's 9 feet ahead of the other houses, then I have a problem. So I came here prepared to support the variances as requested. I did not know about this issue. So this is my first blush at the issue. If the variances that are requested, I can support, but if it's going to be another 9-10 feet in front of the other houses, then I think we have a problem.
Okay.
I have to say that's exactly how the city feels, the same exact way. We're very excited to have a new house on this block. We are supportive of all the other variances, and that's the only issue that we have. And so if it turns out that my augmented reality on my iPhone was not working properly and it's only 20 feet, then I think then it's great. Then if you do that as when you ratify it, if we can figure out that it meets the other setbacks, then it would be fine.
Yeah.
And
So
by the way, the appellant also would have an opportunity once we understand exactly what the mathematics are of this equation to move that house some to try to fit into the regulated setback area.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is Liz. The issue of the public notice, that's also an issue. We would need to notify neighbors that the front setback is a variance that the applicant would be requesting. So a postponement, the earliest I can get is June 28th, and that's 2 weeks. So if we could probably ask Ms. Wagner if my interpretation is correct.
Well, obviously, yes, if you determine that this was written up incorrectly and another variance is needed, we would need to advertise to the public. Although it looks to me, based on what we know, that may be a variance that couldn't be granted. And perhaps Building and Housing and the applicant can look at the plan again in light of that. But you're correct, Ms. Kukla, it will need to be advertised again.
I'm hearing like a two-step process here. One is some validation exactly of what the setback is, the understanding by the appellant of whatever position that leaves the project, whether or not there could be some shifting to try to meet the setback variance, and in doing so, to repost this and establish a new date for hearing. And I think I'd give more than 2 weeks, because we don't know what we're asking for at this point until we get out there. And the appellant has to get out there and do the field work because he's asking for the variance.
Well, but if I can chime in for a quick second.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then I have to sign off. I also, I'm not in this business, but my understanding is that, the more time goes by, cost of materials goes up on a daily basis. I don't want to push this outside of a construction season. If it's big to me, it seems like a yes, no question. Is there an issue with the set or not? If it's something that be quickly measured, then I think 2 weeks is fine. I don't want to, make this impossible for the appellant to get this done, because we do want this to happen, but just not at a 10-foot, jetting out 10 feet above the other property. So I will leave this to the board's good discretion, and I will help out. I do need to sign off at this point. So either way, I'm good, but we do want to move this forward in the most efficient way possible, but also being, constant responsible of our, the knowledge that this setback issue is fresh, is one of first impression to me right now. So
If I could suggest a resolution for, at least for the timing,
I'll try and do it again.
we will add that to the notice of nonconformance, and when we're back in 2 weeks, if the appellant's dimensions show that it lines up with the other houses, then it simply won't be an issue then. But at least in terms of it will be added for the public notice, and I think that'll solve the problem of it getting on again as quick as possible.
All right, Ms. Kukla, you say that we have an opening 2 weeks from today. Board, would we vote to postpone the case till that time?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Rozakis did have his hand raised. I don't know if he had an additional comment.
Okay, Mr. Rozakis?
Yes, thank you. So if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure that it is 30 feet. And just a quick question. Is it the setback based on the neighboring houses or all the houses on the street? And then also I wanted just to mention also that I did want to make my driveway bigger in the back. So I got rid of the patio and I got a lot of room back there. So I feel like it would be pretty easy for me to just push the whole house back as far as I would need to go. I'm not sure 9 feet, but there is room there to just push it back.
Well, good. That'll make the postponement worthwhile. I still have on the plate here, board, looking for a motion to postpone it for 2 weeks to allow this kind of thinking and measuring to take place. Hopefully it all fits in, and when it comes back to us, again, I don't see it being a very long session if we can get that done.
Mr. Donovan, could I ask a question of the appellant, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Rozakis, are you working with an architect on your plans for this, or is there someone that can help you work with the dimensions to make the changes?
Yes, I have someone helping me make the revisions.
Okay. I would suggest that when you come back in 2 weeks, perhaps you have them come along with you. That might help expedite the process of answering questions on the necessary dimensions. That would be my suggestion to you. And with that said, Mr. Donovan, I would move that we go ahead and postpone this 2 weeks.
Second.
Liz, could you call the roll?
Sure. Ms. Barnes?
Barnes, yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Calendar 21-63 is postponed to June 28th. A new notice will go out notifying neighbors as well as the applicant.
All right, thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alana, next case.
All right. Calendar number 21-074 at 2016 Hancock Avenue. BZ Installers LLC owner proposes to construct a new L-shaped 2-story home adjacent to an existing garage on a parcel located in a C3 semi-industry district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Well, everyone for this case that's going to testify, please raise your right hand. I'm going to read a statement, and afterwards I'm looking for a response of I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Ryan Skevnicki.
others? Anyone else? Last call. History.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. It remains in the industrial district. I didn't find any records in our Building and Housing Records Administration office. There are no variances on file, and the only thing I found in our more recent history is that in 2009, there was an invoice assessed or a fee assessed to the property to cover the board up fees on that site. And that's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Legal standard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the rear yard and side yard regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Maurice, a summary of what you're looking at here?
Yeah, so we have 3 variances on this case. I will point out that the third variance, the last one for city planning, that has already occurred. They went to and received the Housing Design Review Subcommittee approval. So number 3 is taken care of. The first one is a rear yard variance. They're required to have a 20-foot rear yard, and they are proposing 13-foot 8. The second variance is a side yard variance. They are proposing 4'7", and they're required to have 7 feet.
Okay.
And those are the variances.
Thank you very much, Maurice. Let us begin the review of the case. Appellant, go ahead. It's your stage. Hello.
Sure. Hi. I'm Ryan. I'm representing BZ Installers in this case. I wanted to tell you all a little bit about the project and the variances we are seeking in order to gain some insight as to what we were thinking on the design end and that we would like your approval to complete. So this is the site plan as it exists. We do have some changes to the site plan that we have been making. This is current and was sent with the package, but if you'll go to the next slide, please.
Sure.
Thank you. This is the existing conditions. The BZ Installers purchased this double wide lot in, I think it was just after 2009, and have begun to work on this site. It's a very difficult site for reasons you'll see if you'll go to the next slide, please. To one side, we have a kind of industrial character of the rear of Voss Industries and a large parking lot, surface parking. And the other side is a residential character. This garage kind of got stuck behind residential buildings and between industrial buildings. So to preserve and to kind of melt with some of that character, this existing garage has been, restored. And also we would like to build a new house on the site. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. It was very difficult. It's kind of difficult in this case to determine what exactly is side yard and what exactly is rear yard, right? But number one, we wanted to first create a strong edge against the industrial side. So we are going right up to the property line there, and we do have a 2-hour fire rating on that wall. The number 2 objective was to keep the middle of the site open for space, access, and an interior view. That's because number 3 was very important, to create an L-shaped building. This would result in a courtyard relationship in the site. The views out aren't exactly spectacular, so we wanted to create an interior facing project. You can go ahead to the next slide, it's okay. And the next one was just to kind of soften that edge, which we did do. So number 4 is to pivot each of those edges so that the relationship to the housing is a little softer. And number 5 was the most important goal that the HDRS wanted us to achieve, which we did, change the design to meet their desires, which was to actually engage the front of the property more. So we extended the project out to create a fronting along Hancock, which doesn't really have a kind of neighborhood feel, but now it's going to be a lot more engaging on that site. So with that, the last slide, please, I believe is just an overlay of the site plan where we're over just a hair. We'd really appreciate your consideration on these variances so that we may proceed.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here that wants to testify in this case?
Here's the kind of front of Hancock that we're engaging with, and the desire to set the building aside. Thank you.
Board, any questions? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is Liz.
Yes.
Just to the applicant, has there been, you mentioned that there were changes to the design. Did that affect the footprint of the building in any way?
It was,
did it affect these variance requests?
No, because this was a year and a half ago, and the way the project has gone through the process was kind of chaotic, and it did not change much of the footprint, except for we extended that little piece and decided to incorporate a kind of the front piece that you see here, the shipping container kind of design, which probably may or may not be an actual shipping container, but a kind of industrial leftover piece. But that is the extent to which it changed. The main interest of the housing design review was to get an active space closer to Hancock Street, which is what we did. We brought the more living space out so that it wasn't wedged back there.
Maurice, am I to take it that city planning endorses this request?
Yes, sir. As was stated, HDRS approved this, and we are in full support of the variances here. I think this diagram shows it pretty good. You know, the fact that the existing garage is already on the property line, that's an existing condition. And then they are setting the house back 4 foot 7 inches, I believe. So it's a very small variance on the interior side yard.
Yes, thank you. Okay, board, any last questions? If not, I'll accept a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Donovan, given the approval of the City Planning Commission and the design review board, I think they've been receptive to the trying to meld between the residential and the industrial on either side of them, and have modified the building layout to make it more interesting and to fit into the situation. So with all that, I mean, I think these are fairly minor variances. So I would move that we approve them.
Second.
Second.
Call the roll.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Calendar 21-74 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you. Next case.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Good
much.
luck.
Thank you. Moving along, calendar number 21-076 at 860 East 73rd Street. WRJ Developers propose to erect a 2-story, 2-family residence constructed of steel shipping containers on a City of Cleveland land bank parcel in a C1 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
All right, well, any and all that are going to testify for this case, kindly raise your right hand. I'm going to read a statement. I'm looking for a response of I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Adam Rose Kelly, I do.
Richard Singleton, I do.
Jermaine Brooks, I do.
Will Levy, I do.
Anyone else?
Anthony Harrison, Ward 10, I do.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? Let's have history followed by the legal standard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There has been no change in the zoning since 1929. There are no variances on file for this address. And in the more recent history in our Acela system, I found that in August of 2014, a permit was issued to demolish a 2-story structure on the site. That's what I have for you today, Mr. Chairman.
Legal standard, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the minimum lot area and minimum lot width regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you. Maurice, give us a summary of what we're looking at.
Yes, so this project has been thoroughly vetted. It's been to the planning commission, the full planning commission, I believe, on multiple occasions. It has received their full approval. We actually even rezoned, I believe, portion of this street to accommodate the front yard setbacks of these structures. They're just looking for an area variance, slight area variance, and a minimum lot width variance. I believe this is a lot of record, so the lot is already existing. And so we're only looking at 2 variances.
All right, who is going to speak for the appellant? And again, could you focus your remarks in on the 2 variances requested?
Sure, this is Adam Rose Kelly. Before I go ahead, would anybody like to make a brief introduction since there were several people from WRJ here?
Go ahead.
No, we'll let you take it, Adam.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, so as mentioned, this is a shipping container project. It has already received approval from the Planning Commission, as well as local design review. This particular lot that we're looking at, located at 860 East 73rd, is composed of 6 shipping containers. I guess a large part of the design intent for the entire project and the entire street is to fit within the context that's here. So you can see on this corner, we've actually softened the corner by providing a lower structure than is typical. I'll also make a couple of notes about the adjacent properties directly across the street. We actually have a larger property. It's also a duplex and is roughly 2,600 square feet. So it's quite a bit bigger than what we're proposing. What we're proposing here on the corner lot, this is the intersection of Detour and 73rd. It's 960 square feet roughly per floor. So times 2, that's 1,920 square feet. So I think this is well within the average size of house / duplex on this street. The reason for the variance requirement is because we are proposing a duplex, which does require a larger size lot. Typically, however, I think we're well within the context of what's within this neighborhood already. Just looking at the overall street, we're proposing currently 8 different duplex / triplexes. So we've got 4 duplexes and 4 triplexes on the street, and that's what we're showing here in this street view. And you can flip to the next slide. This is just a straight on shot of the front. There was actually a variance, I'm sorry, not a variance, but a change in legislation for the front yard setback. So that was actually reduced as of January to a 7-foot front yard setback, and we're currently showing an 11-foot 6-inch setback. So again, well within the context. You can go to the next slide, and you can just kind of flip through these somewhat slowly. We're showing a carport in the backyard. That's from Detour, looking at the side with a small cantilever in the back. And just a staircase to get to the 2nd floor unit. And that's just looking at the overall neighborhood, the master plan that we had proposed a while back. The plan actually is going to change. A number of these lots are going to get flip-flopped for various reasons, but the corner lot is still the same. You can go to the next slide. And again, the bottom right there is the lot that we're looking at. You can go to the next slide.
These slides make me feel cold.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm offended by the snow, but
the renderings were completed in the winter, so sorry about that. That was my mood at the time. The site plan here just shows the various setbacks that we are providing. It's obviously a little bit small there on the south. We're providing a 5-foot side yard setback. To the north, we're providing an 11-foot side yard setback. To the front, an 11-foot 6. And the rear yard setback is 38 feet 6 inches. So again, if you look at the site plans of the various projects in the neighborhood, and actually I meant to include those within this slideshow, you'll see, I think that our building footprint is, relatively speaking, pretty close to those others in the neighborhood. That's all I have. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And that's all.
Thank you. Board, any questions? Again, I think the requests are pretty standard in this particular case. If there are no, go ahead, Alana.
I was just going to say, I don't really have any questions. I think it's a good looking project. I'm anxious to hear from Councilman Harrison.
All right, Councilman.
Thank you, board. You know, when I come here, I always feel at home. You all are one of my favorites. But again, thank you for having us. This is an exciting project that we are anxiously waiting to see come together in the neighborhood. This is the first of many houses we built within that 72nd to 76th block, on top of a new multi-family units that are coming on 72nd. So this is the first piece that this group will be starting as we move to enhance and revitalize the area of St. Clair Superior. And so I thank the developers for reaching out to me early on. And we began this process by partnering with Amico's Foundation, a neighborhood that's been around for decades, that many of you know. And again, we just ask you all for your support. And we welcome you out. I'm sure developers would love to welcome you out once the project is finished, so you can be able to see the great work that is being done here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Board, any questions, follow up?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
Yes, I think given the overwhelming support of the city planning and the local design review committee, the council person, Councilman Harrison, I think this is a great looking project. A lot of effort has been made to accommodate it into the neighborhood. And I move that we go ahead and approve the variances.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Liz, could you call the roll?
Sure. Ms. Barnes?
Barnes, yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Calendar 21-76 is granted. It'll be ratified next week and we will send you a letter.
Thank you again, Councilman, and nice project.
Thank you so much.
Looking forward to seeing it in person.
Absolutely, we welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You all.
Next case.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Calendar number 21-078 at 2817 Detroit. Hingetown LLC owner proposes to establish use as a bar/lounge/restaurant in a D3 local retail business district and a pedestrian retail overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, and that is one variance, section 349.049F.
Thank you, Alana. Will everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand? I'm going to read a statement. I'm looking for a response of I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Rambeezy.
I do.
Name?
Doug Chow.
Okay.
I do. Graydon Petsnick.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call?
I don't know if you heard, but Graham also said I do.
Yeah, I did hear Graham.
Okay,
That's it,
okay.
yeah. All right, we're going to move to history and the legal standard from which we'll be adjudicating.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property was originally zoned semi-industry in 1929. In 2011, the PRO, Pedestrian Retail Overlay District, was established on this street. In 2014, the area was changed to local retail business. In the records room, I found that in 1925, there were alterations to a storefront. In 1952, a permit was issued to convert a garage to an artist shop. 1967, a permit was issued to remodel the front of a print shop. There was an addition in 1969, 1980, and 1983. In that 1983 case, and the addition was made as well as a parking lot for 20 cars. There is one variance on file in calendar 15-231. A variance was granted for a partial change of use from manufacturing to residential and offices. And then in the more recent history, we see that in 2017, a certificate of occupancy was issued for that variance that was granted. And 2017, there was a selective demolition to remove one story of the southwest wing. And then in this year, March of this year, there were facade alterations and improvements for a future tenant. And that's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Legal standard?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the off-street parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you, Lori. Maurice, can you focus us in on what the variances requested are?
Yeah, so we only have one variance on this project. When they just are required, there's a parking reduction down to 24 spaces due to the pedestrian retail overlay district, and they are proposing no parking for this project, and that is the variance they are seeking.
All right, who will be the spokesman?
Graydon, who's the architect, but I'll just jump in quickly. This is part of now one of the most walkable neighborhoods in Cleveland. We've got the Creative Hangars, which is the 7 work, live spaces that are currently under construction. And we're just thrilled that Doug Katz, who's a culinary force in Cleveland, has chosen this part of the city to invest with Amba, his Indian fusion restaurant. We have gotten the support of the councilman. We've gotten the support of Ohio City Incorporated. We are very active in the overall public parking plan for this district, including a public lot that is not only at Church and State, which I developed and is now a year in, but also Transformer Station. So I'm thrilled to be able to share this project with the board.
Just to continue, this is Graydon Petsnick with Cleveland Draw. We were the architects for Hingetown LLC on the facade improvements for the one-story building that used to be part of 2817 Detroit, but with the permit granted and the extra work with Creative Hangars has now been readdressed or renamed 1430 West 28th Street. We're here because 1430 West 28th, formerly the eastern part of 2817 Detroit, is a 0 lot line building. And we are also currently helping Mr. Katz and excited to help him with the restaurant finish out. But by the nature of the 0 lot line building, we do not have site work or site available to provide 24 spaces for the restaurant. We have submitted a pre-design review package from which we've had the discussions with Mr. Riccardi about parking to try to make provisions for them ahead of time. And as Graham was saying, we're very fortunate to be in a district that is pedestrian oriented. The improvements on West 28th for bicycling have also helped with the public parking improvements, not only that Hingetown LLC has done for Church and State, but also the transformer station. We also did, which is on the screen right now, an informal parking study within a 500-foot radius of the front door for the restaurant. We did this on draft day and counted the spaces that were available to anybody who would come to AMBA that would not engage a private parking service or who live in the neighborhood and have already dedicated parking lots or off-street parking. We came up with, for the evening hours that this restaurant will be open, over 200 spaces available on the street, and plus the extra spaces that are included in Mr. Veazey's Church and State project, as well as the transformer station. So with this amount of parking in the neighborhood, the favorable reply of the Block Club, and OCI support given their plans for adding parking in the neighborhood and helping guide development of parking in the neighborhood, we're petitioning the board and staff for approval of the 24 space variance.
Of those spaces that you count out, are some of those dedicated to other established uses, be it residential or commercial?
The space, this was an informal walkabout, and they are only street parking that is listed on the curb. They're not dedicated. If they were signed as being dedicated to a particular use or loading, they were not included. If they were included as being available after business hours, which some of the ones closer to West 25th are, they were included because they would be available at the operational hours of the restaurant. But no, like the parking directly across the street is fully dedicated to that building and its residents and the people that go there.
All right. Anyone else want to testify on this case? If not, board, any questions?
I have none.
Then
I
I'll
have-
entertain-
I
Go
have
ahead.
no questions. I just have a comment that I think with the RTA's Next Gen, which launched yesterday, the frequency of the rapid transit on West 25th is going to help alleviate the traffic in that area. So with that, I'll make a motion. Given the approval of city planning, Ohio City Incorporated, the neighborhood block club in the area. I think this is an exciting project. I distinctly remember the Artist Enclave when that case was before us. That's going to be right next door. So I think that's this only is going to enhance that that project as well. So I move that we go ahead and approve this variance.
Is there a second?
A second.
Just one question before we leave. Is there any documentation on that, albeit a, in-house survey of available parking spaces? If so, could we include that with the documentation for this case as a favor here?
Certainly. The slide is the documentation, but feel free, if I can help in any way, please contact me.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Ms.
Ms.
Britt?
Barnes was yes.
Thank you. Ms. Britt? Ms. Babe?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Calendar 21-78 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Looking
Thank
forward
you
to
so much.
seeing it.
Yeah, thank
We're
you.
excited to be there.
Yeah, thank you.
Next,
Mr. Donovan, we have calendar number 21-080 at 19001 Nottingham Road. I don't know if the councilman is still with us. This is Ward 10, Councilman Harrison's project again. NB Cleveland LLC owner proposes to construct a 6,300 square foot retail furniture showroom building, parking and driveway improvements on consolidated lots located in a C1 general retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record.
Thank you. Will everyone for this case that is going to testify, please raise your right hand. Again, I'm going to read a statement. I'm looking for a response of I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, Matt Plesnick.
Anyone else?
Councilman Anthony Harrison, Ward 10, I do.
All right, anyone else? Hearing none, we move to history and the legal standard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property was originally zoned semi-industry in 1929. It was changed to general retail in 1964. In the records room, I found that in 1957, an addition was made to a funeral home on the site. And another addition was made in 59 and as well as 1970. There is one variance case on file in calendar 16-250. A variance was granted to construct a new showroom garage for a contractor's business with outdoor storage. And I see that that resolution is on the screen. There were no conditions for this variance, Mr. Chairman. And then this year, March of this year, a permit was issued to demolish a one-story structure on the site. And that's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
The legal standard, Mr. Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the driveway regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other buildings in the district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Could somebody mute your microphone here? You're bleeding in.
Yeah, it was Marion Gartner. I muted her microphone.
All right. Maurice, while you're here, remind us, summarize us of the variance issues that we will need to review.
So we really effectively have one variance here, which is the fact that the driveway that they're proposing, which is, I shouldn't say proposing, an existing condition, is too close to the property line. I would also like to point out with this, they are in the process of working through design review. I believe tomorrow they have their final local design review committee meeting. The applicant is aware of the fact that we normally don't look at these before design review of approval, but they wanted to move forward with this to get this expedited. And we have no problem with this, with them moving forward, so.
All right, who is going to speak for the appellant on the issue, on the one request?
I will. My name's Matt Plesnick from Cleveland Draw Architecture, the owner's architect.
Go ahead.
So as you could see, this is our existing site plan. You could see the building that's shown there, I believe, has been demolished. The parking lot that surrounds that building is existing. Including two drives off of Nottingham Avenue, both of which we were hoping to reuse both drives. It's a concrete curb cut with asphalt driveway. This is our, I believe this is the plot consolidation, which I believe has just been completed. If you go to the next slide, and this is similar, this is what we're looking to propose. This is a 3D rendering. This is actually I don't believe this is the most current rendering. We have design review, as mentioned earlier, tomorrow. So we have our, the design review comments mostly have had to do with the storefront and the amount of glazing on our facade and the fencing that surrounds the parking lot area. It doesn't have much to do with the footprint or the site plan, so it's hopefully we are okay in our request. These slides show some existing conditions. If you go to the next slide, perhaps, and here is our existing site plan. And if you go to the next one, this is what we're proposing. Essentially, we're going to repave the parking lot. The footprint of the parking lot is not going to change drastically. The building, our new proposed building, is essentially going to go in the same spot as the demolished building, and we'd like to maintain the entry, the vehicle entry from from Nottingham, and the sort of the U-shaped of the lot, specifically for trucks, to allow trucks to kind of enter and exit without having to back off into Nottingham. So again, the driveway is existing. The owner would very much like to maintain that existing driveway. If you go to the next slide. This shows our footprint, our floor plan. Essentially, it's a pretty open floor plan. You could go to the next slide. These are our elevations. The front is the bottom one, and the side or the top elevation depicts from the parking lot area.
Mr. Plestic, is this bottom illustration more accurate than the 3D render? Is this?
I'm afraid it's not. It's
not. Okay. I was just curious because they're different.
Biggest difference, it's very similar. The biggest difference is we have more glazing and we have some salvaged wood paneling in the front.
And now that's all I have.
But the width of the driveway there, it shows a truck on it. Is that a 12-foot width of a driveway? What is the width there?
The existing width of the driveway. Oh, if you give me a second, I could double check on the survey.
So I presume that's the driveway in question as far as the variance goes.
It is. It's actually more than it's closer to 16 feet, I believe.
16 foot wide? Is that meant to be a one-way kind of vehicular?
It is. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I believe the previous use was a funeral home. I believe that's where the funeral processions often started.
So my question gets to be, if it's 16 foot wide, it seems like you have enough room there to, again, back off of the, the boundary, the site boundary, and give your neighbor a little bit of breathing room there. Why wouldn't we do it?
You mean to maintain that one way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. No, I think we would definitely like to maintain the one way. And I think, as you mentioned before, because just to have trucks coming in and out there, I think we would like to maintain that, I guess, that breathing room, so to speak, for just maneuverability. There's also an existing fence along that, I believe it's the northeastern border or western border, I believe. So that we'd like to maintain that existing fence as well.
What kind of fence is it? Is it a cyclone fence or a board on board?
Wood, opaque wood, board on board fence.
Maurice, any idea in terms of design review of this project, then will such an issue like the fence be one of those items that will be reviewed and perhaps enhanced?
I'm not sure of what is going to be addressed at design review.
So we're looking at a situation where we're looking for a preliminary review and approval based on what the design review committee comes up with. Maurice, am I getting this thinking right, or?
Yes. I think that you could easily, if you decide that you want to allow this driveway to be maintained, I think you could pass that. And they would simply have to come back if something else changed in the design that would generate another variance. I think that's the approach you're trying to take. Is that correct? That would be to Mr. Plestic.
Yes, that is correct. And one of the preliminary comments, which we agreed to at the design review, is because the fence is existing. It's a board on board fence. We agreed to paint the fence, And because it's an opaque fence, it's better. It prevents headlights and so on and so forth from going into the neighbor's property. So the side fences, I think, were okay. The front fence, I think they would like to see more transparent, which is.
And one other, just wanted to confirm something. This house here is also gone, correct?
Is it the house to the left? Yes, correct. Yeah.
So there is no house on this property here.
There isn't, and I believe actually the owner may be in the process of purchasing that property. I don't know that that is for sure or not, but I believe he's interested.
All right, board, any last questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I don't
think
have any questions. I was just saying I don't have.
I think we had the councilman on. Is he still
Councilman,
with us?
would you please? I'm sorry. Yes, please, Councilman, weigh in.
Not a problem. Thank you again, board, for allowing me to speak. As we've heard, this property has been a number of things along this corridor, and the last thing operation that was there was the funeral home, and they started off on the parking lot that is to the right of the property, went around and came out on the left side. So that has always been the function of the site. And yes, the house to the left going north has been demolished. And the owner is, as soon as the property finishes the foreclosure process, in that whole piece, the owner will be making an application to purchase a lot. He is working with the Development Corporation and my office to do that. And the daycare that is the daycare / office building that's further north are very important. Actually, they've been working together on how to secure the lot and maintain it, et cetera. A Piece of Cleveland operates 2 other facilities / Nature's Beauty Tree Service within Ward 10. So they are a vested business. He actually has a property just south of this one on Furwood. Not even 4 blocks away from this site here. He is committed to this community. We are committed to supporting him. What he brings here is something that we have not seen along the strip in quite some time. You know, you had a woodworking shop that he was years ago. They've since closed their doors for quite some time. And the type of attraction and the type of interest that this place will bring to this community is very, very much needed. If you recall, about 2 months ago when I was here for the Red Walters meat market that you all approved for the parking variance, and we talked about some other businesses that will be coming online. This is one of them. We are on a mission to bring back this neighborhood in Nottingham Villages, and this really is one of those.
Thank you, Councilman. Again, board, any last questions? All righty. Again, board, any last questions? Or if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve number 21-080, noting that they are going to design review tomorrow. So if any further issues pop up, they will have to BZA.
All right. Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Any discussion? If not, Liz, call the roll.
Ms. Barnes.
Barnes, yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Calendar 21-80 is granted pending any notes from the Design Review Committee, and then it will be ratified. We'll send you a letter.
Thank you, Pellet. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. Take care.
What's next?
We have calendar number 21-081 at 10717 Lorraine. BQ Properties LLC owner proposes to convert the existing bank to a laundromat in a C2 local retail business district and a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinance, which is section 343.01 B2G, which states that laundry services are first permitted in a local retail business district. Part of the building is located in a two-family residential district.
Thank you,
Filed May
Alana.
10, 2021.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Anyone that's going to testify for this case, kindly raise your right hand. I'll make a statement looking for a response of I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
This is Art
Bob-
Morris. I do.
Bobby Kasim, I do.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we move to history and the legal standard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property was originally zoned general retail in 1929, and it was changed to local retail in 1992. Of course, that is just speaking to the portion that is not located in the two-family district. Mr. Chairman, there are no variances on file for this address, and in the more recent history, we find that in 2000, August of that year, there was a new bank structure erected on the address with trash enclosure. And then, Mr. Chairman, we see later in 2000 there was a permit to demolish an existing building on that site. I believe that those are supposed to be changed, showing that there was a demolished building and then a bank building erected after that. Then we see that there was signage, permit issued for signage. And then in 2002, a permit was issued to renovate 913 square feet of the space for First Merit Bank. And then 2003, there was another a permit for signage, a double-faced sign on the property. In 2017, a permit was issued to install a new access control vestibule. And then again in 2020, a permit was issued to install one illuminated projecting sign. That's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Legal standard, Mr. Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, Maurice, summarize what the issue is here for us.
Yeah, so I brought up this zoning slide for the area just to point out why we're actually here about this one. The variance is because really we have a split zoned parcel, which probably occurred as the result of a lot consolidation. And so that's all we're looking at today.
All right, who's going to speak for the appellant?
If I could speak, this is Art Morris.
Please lead us on.
The property was purchased by Bobby for the use of his laundromat in the space that used to be the bank, and the vacant adjacent tenant is still vacant, and he'll be looking for some sort of business tenant at some point down the road. But the issue we ran into, as was just mentioned, is the split zoning, and we're running into that now. This was an existing building used as a bank. I'm not sure how it got built without some sort of a conditional zoning in the first place, but this is what we're running into now. It's just trying to clear it up.
Anyone else looking to testify on behalf of the project? Anyone here to oppose the project? Hearing nothing, board, any questions?
This is very straightforward. I think we could just move on if you like, Mr. Chair.
Please do.
I move that we approve the variances as requested. It's very obvious that this is an existing that should have been remedied a while ago and was not. So.
All righty. Do I hear a second?
I second. I'm familiar with this parcel and it is straightforward.
All right, Liz, call the roll, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Barnes,
Yes.
Ms. Bates?
Yes.
Ms. Britt?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Calendar 21-81 is granted. It'll be ratified next week and we will send you a letter.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next.
Finally, we have case number 21-058 at 1852 West 50th Street. This case was postponed from May 10th, 2021. John Heaney, owner, proposes to erect a two-story single-family residence with detached garage on a 3,965 square foot lot in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record. The first postponement was made at the request of the appellant to allow time for a public meeting to take place.
All right, thank you, Alana. Would everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand if you plan to testify? I'm going to read a statement looking for the response of I do in your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. This is Mike Fant.
Anyone else?
I do.
This is John. Somebody.
I do, Melanie Heaney.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do, Adam Davenport.
Last call. Anyone else? All right. Let's move on to history and the legal standard.
Mr. Chairman, we had the history at the last hearing, but I would like to remind you that there were several people there that were actually more than several, but there were many people there that were opposed to this variance. We do have 2 letters of opposition and 1 letter with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 individual people from the neighborhood that are opposed to the, or that were opposed to this variance. That's all that I have, Mr. Chairman.
As I recall, it had a lot to do with trees.
A tree.
That's correct.
A tree.
It was 1 tree. Yes.
Right. Okay. Lori?
Mr. Donovan, to Ms. Kukla, do we have any further communication from Councilwoman Spencer?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's go. Let's keep in order here, Lori. We read the legal
Yes.
standard.
Mr.
Maurice, excuse me, Maurice. If you could just summarize again the issue at hand here.
Oh, she didn't read the legal standard yet.
I'm trying to.
Okay. Lori,
The legal standard, appellant is requesting area variances from the maximum gross floor area, side yard, and accessory use regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
now, Maurice.
Yes. So
Tell us where we're at.
we were initially looking at 3 variances. I believe number 3 has been remedied since the last time. I believe they've adjusted the location of the parking garage to meet number 3, and the applicants can go over that with you. The other 2 variances are an area variance. As you know, it's a very common variance that we grant around here. And I believe the applicants have done a very thoughtful presentation of the conditions of the neighborhood to address that. And then we also have a side yard variance where it needs to be 3 feet, and they are doing 2 feet, so that's a 1 foot variance for the side yard.
All right, thank you. Who's going to speak on behalf of the appellant?
This is Mike Fant. I can speak.
Mike, take it away.
All right. So thanks again for meeting with us, and everything that's said to this point, very accurate. We did adjust the garage to avoid the 1 variance that was originally proposed, and are still looking for the area variance and the side yard variance. And since it was at the last meeting that we had some discussion on it, and the decision was postponed so that we could have another meeting with the neighbors, because there were quite a few neighbors at the last meeting who were against the project and really wanted to talk through the variances and the tree at the front of the property as well. And on June 1st, we did have that meeting. It was a 2-hour Zoom meeting. It was actually a really productive meeting. Felt like everybody, got their opinions across, and it was very civil. We had representatives from the neighborhood, also from Ohio City. We had urban forestry on the call, also the council members, and Adam was there from city planning as well. So, or from design review. So we had a really good turnout, and we did talk through really everything. The Heaney's did a PowerPoint basically describing the context and showing some examples of homes in the neighborhood that are similar and that have gone for similar variances in the past. And so it was my opinion that during that call, most of the discussion on the actual 2 variances, kind of went away pretty quickly. And a lot of the discussion then went to the tree on the front of the property, which the Heaneys have repeatedly mentioned that they're committed to doing everything they can to try to save that, even though we acknowledge that that tree may get lost. And I think I wasn't at this meeting, but even since the June 1st meeting, the Heaneys did meet with Jennifer Kipp one more time on the property just to kind of review some of those options. So again, I think, the Heaneys have made every attempt to do what they can to show the neighborhood that they're really committed to being good neighbors and doing everything they can to support, what they've stated. So that's where we're at today. I'm still going for those 2 variances, and I don't really have anything else to add to that unless John or Melanie want to add something to that.
John, Melanie?
Yes, this is John. Let's see. Yeah, so there are several homes on the street that, have these kinds of variances. The average home is 22 feet on 30-foot lots between Franklin and Bridge. The average home is 22 feet wide and 49 feet long. So our footprint is very similar at 20 feet and 51 feet. It's just we're finishing an attic. Again, no change, but that's what took us over the square footage component. So and then we want to be 1 foot closer to the line so that we can make sure but there's 25 feet from the next house. So again, we thought that was pretty reasonable. That way we're also more than 10 feet from our neighbor to the south, because our neighbor to the south is less than 3 feet from our property line. So that's why we proposed that. I have met with Jennifer Kipp. I'm still working towards a tree plan, which again is not related to these variances, but we're still working hard to preserve the tree lawn.
All righty. Anyone else here to testify, either on behalf or against the project?
We have Matthew Furman.
Matthew Furman here.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, before we get started, we just want to make sure that the comments are towards the actual variances that are as today.
Okay, kindly try to focus your
Absolutely.
comments in on the variances, please.
Absolutely. I'm not going to support these variances. Reasoning being that the average home on this block is 1,000 square foot smaller than what's being proposed. And when homes on this block are of this size, the lots are much larger. This is a feeling about the block. We have lots of green space. There's lots of modest homes and a huge tree canopy. And there's just not houses built like this on this block. And it is going to impact the neighborhood.
All righty. Anyone else here to testify against the project?
We also have
I would
Adam
just point-
Davenport.
Am I able to say one more thing? This is John.
Sure.
To Matthew's point, I understand those comments, but I would just point to 1801 West 50th that was built in 2019. That is 2,400 square feet on a 3,900 square foot lot. Is less than 7 feet from another neighboring house. So it received, again, very similar variances. So that's, again. Yeah.
Thank you thank you. Anyone else against the project? Adam from City Planning, what's your input, please?
Morning. It's mostly the same as last time. So this is a vacant lot on West 50th Street. Unlike a lot of other lots on the street that have been acquired through the side yard program, this has the chance of a house actually being built on it, which is great. We're supportive of the variances. Normally we wouldn't be supportive of the side yard variance, but that adjacent lot is like some other lots on West 50th, where it was acquired through the side yard program and now is only going to be reserved for, you know, a side yard. So the proximity of the house to that lot is not of consequence in our minds. And then it's been reiterated a couple times, but the Heaney's have done their homework with previous variance requests across the street, almost directly across the street. Another house in 2018 received an area variance, which is obviously very common across Cleveland, but also ironically so across the street for this project as well. So we are very much in support of building a new house here. Thank you.
Anyone else? Board, any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, believe the homeowners have gone through several review processes and have gotten their house to where to the best of their ability with needing these two minor variances. So I move that we approve the variances as proposed calendar number 1.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? If not, Liz, please call the roll.
Ms. Barnes,
Barnes, yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Britt,
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Calendar 21-58 is granted. It'll be ratified next week and we will send you a letter.
Thank you,
Thank you very
parents.
much.
Thank
Have a
you,
good morning.
neighbors, for weighing in.
Thank you.
Any last? There's no
That
other-
was our last case. Mr. Donovan, we can move to old business.
Let's move. Looks like we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to be ratified.
Not number 4.
No 4.
Not-
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Do I have a
Without
motion to
objection.
ratify? Without objection?
Without objection.
Okay, Marlene? Marlene, without objection?
Without objection, Sam.
All righty. Liz, you want to tell us what the last two calendar
you're
numbers
fine.
are?
Mr. Chairman, calendar number, I'll start with 18-159. It's a request for affirmation. This would be their 5th affirmation, the last one being ratified or permitted in November of last year. Of course, the applicants are stating that the current pandemic, they have yet to receive permits and they need more time for that.
Do you think they're moving forward on this case, or?
Yes, I do believe so in this case.
I mean, the firm itself seems to always be one that continues to make progress.
Mhm.
I'd
Yeah,
say
BRT.
let's give it another chance, but tell them that we're running out of patience here and we'd like them to get the thing started. That would be my
All right.
recommendation.
I agree.
Without objection.
Without
Without
objection.
objection. All right. The other one?
Then calendar number
Without
17
objection.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Barnes. Sorry about that, Mr. Donovan.
Sure,
Then
that's
the
fine.
next one is calendar number 17-83. So this has been ratified many times since 2017. We did send them a letter at the beginning of 2020 stating that this would be their last affirmation. And then after that, we did grant one more because of the issue with COVID. So the appellant is now asking for an 8th affirmation, again stating that COVID has put a stall on pulling the permits and that they expect a fall 2021 execution.
All right. What does everyone think of this request?
I think everyone is having issues right now. I think just paperwork and processes have all stalled a lot, particularly in the building world. So I'm okay with this affirmation for this time.
All righty.
I would be fine with giving them a little more grace, but that's going to be it.
All righty. Anyone, Marlene, any comment?
The rest of the board. I mean, call it a day.
Okay, I would agree with Ms. Britt and move that without, any prejudice, that we would again grant a further extension. Make sure we give them enough time. Will they get 6 months? Is that basically it?
Yeah. Each time they get 6 months.
Yeah.
All right, I'd move that we grant the requests. Without objection?
Without objection.
I know Kelly's without objection. Marlene?
Without objection, Sam.
All right, that's it for today.
I just want to point out, we do have a new council person on the call. I'm not sure if she wanted to say anything, but just wanted to acknowledge new Ward 4 council person, Marion Gardner.
Excellent.
Welcome aboard, Marion.
Welcome.
And we also did not announce that we have are having a change in leadership here in terms of the chairing of the committee, and that Carol Johnson is no longer on the committee and will no longer be serving as chairman, but Kelly Britt will be our new chairman.
Yay.
Okay.
Yay to Kelly, boo-hoo to Carol leaving. So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's clarify that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yes, let's definitely clarify.
Without objection.
Without objection.
I won't object to myself. Yes.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Well, I know Kelly's got an appointment today, so we can't keep her.
Yeah.
Oh, there's our new council person.
Time now. Thanks for running that, Tim, and thanks for running it until I can officially come on. My appointment letter says July, so I can't say anything until then. So thanks for picking up the slack, Tim.
No problem.
We'll expect a speech then.
Our new council person is on screen. I don't know. Did you have anything to say, ma'am?
Excellent.
No, just checking in.
Great.
Okay.
It's so nice of you to join us.
Yeah.
Maurice,
hopefully we didn't put you to sleep.
Maurice and Liz, is there any word in terms of whether or not we're going to make these meetings in person in the future, or is this going to still continue as a Zoom?
We're still not getting, answers for sure. I know today everybody is supposed to be back at City Hall full time. We're still hosting the meetings from home virtually, but after this we have to go into the office. I think the emergency declaration by the legislature expires at the end of this month.
Yes.
And also right. And then also on the beginning of July, I don't remember what the date is, City Hall is going to be allowing people to come back in, everybody to come back in. So they'll be opening their doors. So if we do go back, it would be the beginning of it could potentially be the beginning of July, but I haven't been given a definite answer on that. And I think they're probably, the administration is still probably deciding. I think there's some legal issues. I think that they were going to investigate the legal ramifications of being able to continue to do these virtually for a while longer, but that's all I can tell you. I wish I had more to tell you.
In the beginning, I didn't have much faith in this process, but as I've grown into it, just me individually speaking now, I think there's been some advantages of doing it through this Zoom mechanism in terms of participation and I do think it allows us to focus in with using the screen that Maurice so diligently provides us with the facts, just the facts, ma'am. And so I, for one, would hope that there'd be an opportunity to talk about maybe options that you might have and get input
Yeah.
from this board.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tim. I think a lot of people were apprehensive about this at first, but I think a lot of people have realized that one thing I really like about it is it allows more people to participate.
Exactly.
I know it can stymie some people that may not be as technically savvy, but I also realize that there are many people that may have something important that comes up on these meetings in the morning,
Right.
but they have to go to work. It's much easier to be able to excuse yourself at a job and tune into this for a few minutes to take care of a case. So it's easier for people to actually attend, which I think is great. It's more transparency.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's true of our council people too, that often have conflicts that, they've been able to make themselves available for a limited amount of time, whereas before they wouldn't be able to
Right.
participate at all. So,
Right. Like how many times have they been on 2 calls with actually a council subcommittee meeting and us at
Right.
the same time where normally they just wouldn't be able to come?
right,
So
exactly.
yeah, there is a level of versatility to this that can be an advantage.
Right. Any
So-
last items for business, old business, new business?
I have nothing.
I still had the one question. We're going to have the law department look into the issue of conflict of interest to help us better understand when we could recuse ourselves from cases. I don't know where that issue is. It's something that we talked about, and then we said,